record, and we're away. So I'm going to, oh, hang on, everybody. Ah, that's better.
Now we're cooking.
Now we're cooking. Now I'm ready. Now I'm ready to receive. So welcome all the beautiful souls that are joining us this evening, and to Laurie particularly, and to Jan Lemuri, our dolphin man. Aloha, aloha, aloha.
For being here.
So fabulous that you were able to join us, Jan. And just quick introductions. I met Jan and his beautiful wife, Kirsten, and beautiful daughter, Kalalea, last summer when they all came over to Europe on a tour. And Jan, if I'm right in thinking, you have family in Slovenia?
Yeah, that's correct.
That's right. So you were over visiting family, and while you were in Europe, you dropped in on a number of countries to do your dolphin workshops and to share the dolphin magic with as many people as you could. And I'd heard about you on a roundabout way. I was on an online course with a lady called Ariella Indigo, and we had a closed Facebook page for the participants of the course, and a beautiful Portuguese lady called Isa Ribeiro. And Isa, I'm waving your little beautiful dolphin that you sent with Jan to me from Portugal, from Lisbon.
Aww.
Isa posted on our Facebook page that she was looking forward and very excited to go and see a man called Jan who was going to talk about dolphins. And I immediately messaged Isa and said, I need to know more, narrow it down a bit for me. Jan, who, where, what, how? And it appeared that this lovely man called Jan was going to be giving a talk and a workshop in Lisbon. And so I just messaged you, Jan, and said, if ever you wanted to come to the UK, I'd be delighted to help you stage a workshop here. And, you know, just get in touch if that sounded good. And then, Jan, I'm handing over to you now for the rest of the story. What happened next?
Well, yeah, because the funny thing was that we traveled through England because we first went to an event in near Glastonbury. And the funny thing was that I was talking to somebody from London before we even arrived to England about doing that in England, and his energy was very undecisive about it, and ended up not working out. And I said, well, I guess, you know, we were traveling back through England on the way back to the States, so maybe somebody else is going to show up, and you know, we'll do it with them. But at the same time, I didn't do anything. Like, I didn't write to anyone. I didn't mention it to anyone. To me, that was like, you know, one of those examples of universe reading your mind and being like, okay, you know, here's this person. And it literally just, Claire just showed up. And as soon as she showed up, I was like, oh, maybe I should ask her, but I didn't yet. And then she offered. And that was yeah, I just love how that all came together. Had an amazing event in England. I absolutely was impressed with how many people got together in the middle of the countryside. Yeah.
Nowhere near the sea, nowhere near water, the most landlocked county in England was where the dolphin man came to work.
That is so beautiful. How many people came to that event?
There was 13 people at the full day workshop.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, which is less than Portugal and other places, but we were literally in the middle of nowhere. So I was really impressed with Claire, with the whole event. Everything was amazing, and yeah, we loved. I loved that, you know, something that was, you know, in my heart going to Europe as a potential. I wanted it to manifest. Then, you know, happened through a completely different person than I planned on, and you know, like in a place I didn't even know existed. I didn't know where it existed.
That's such a beautiful story. I love the synchronicity out there. That's like...
I know, and it was brilliant because Kirsten then found that she had a family relative in who had lived in the area only about 20 miles away. Jan, you went to the other side of.
It was a bit more. It was around 60 or 80 miles away. But yeah, we went to the graveyard and
the graveyard of a family relative of the
Franklin with family. Her family. Kirsten's my wife, so her family came from a village near work. So yeah, it's crazy.
And it was crazy, wasn't it? It was crazy, and we're still, and the people who joined you, Jan, at that workshop in landlocked Warwick. We're still buzzing with the dolphin energy, with what you shared, with what you opened up and activated for us. One of our lovely friends, a lady called Ronnie, is off to New Zealand soon, and she asked Jan recently where could she go and swim with wild dolphins. The key here being that all of Jan's work has been with wild dolphins, not dolphins in captivity.
So I can share how it all started, because you know.
Well,
Please.
just before we start, I'm going to hold this up to the camera, because this is a piece of work that I am so proud of on behalf of Jan, and he has written this beautiful book and published it, available on Amazon, isn't it, Jan? And it's the story of his journey with dolphins, with the cetaceans, the beautiful sort of energetic messages, the soulful messages and the awakening that the dolphins are here to help us with on our ascension journey. So I just wanted to put that out there before I forget, so everybody can order a copy. And yes, Jan, over to you to share your magnificent journey and the joy and the gifts that the dolphins bring for us.
Great. And the book is written and I could talk about it for hours, so we'll try to keep it short. And if you'll have anything to add, or any questions that that's important, we'll try and get as much into this as possible, because it's, to me, it's a very, now it's my life work, now it's my passion. And what I do point out usually is that I wasn't born with that. Even as a kid, I wasn't into dolphins at all. Like, you see kids that are either in horses or dolphins or different things. To me, they were always just another animal species. And it was in my early 20s that dolphins just started to show up in my dreams. And if they just came once or twice, I would be like, oh, that's a nice dream, okay. No, the same dream, a couple of different dreams were actually repeating. And this was the only time in my life that I had dreams keep on coming back for years. And, it would probably get anyone's attention. Like, why are my dreams full of dolphins, and without me ever seeing them, without me ever having any interest in them or anything else? So to me, that was like a big thing that it was going on for like 6 years, from the moment they showed up to the moment I actually got to swim with them. So that was the beginning of my story. And I thought, when I go and swim with them, that this would actually resolve my dreams. They would stop coming, and then it would be done. I would fulfill the mission, whatever. I didn't even know what the mission was. And I thought this was it, like, I'll go swim with them and then we're done. Not realizing that once I did swim with them, that it would actually only start my journey. Because after that, I kind of got so what happens in water with dolphins, and what I explored as well as part of my university, I studied social work, and what was my interest is, there is something that happens in water with dolphins that how would you call that? It inside us as humans, our emotional state, it brings out amazing response. And it's very if you look at I wish somebody would do a research of that, of what humans meeting with different animals, what happens and what the emotions are. Because from my little sample of people that I interviewed, it's completely out of the normal curve of distribution of what these emotions. What happens is, we, like, more than half of people experience intense feelings of joy and peace and beauty. And it's so prevalent that it even has a name in Hawaii. People call it dolphin bliss. Mm-hmm. So to me, that's what happened. I had dreams. I went to swim with dolphins in Hawaii, and I experienced this profound dolphin bliss. It was so profound that I was laughing and crying at the same time. and like it was so profound that I completely forgot about everything else. Like there's nothing else existed for me in the world in that moment than that moment of being with the dolphins. That was the only thing that was there, and it caused dolphin bliss in me, just like I'm describing it. It was, I was crying and laughing at the same time, and forgot that I'm, trying to snorkel, and in that moment of dolphin bliss, I actually breathed in water and started to cough uncontrollably. So um, it's, yeah. So this is the moment that then like kind of propelled me onto my journey of traveling all around the world to be with different dolphins and whales, and experience this dolphin bliss again and again. That was, I thought, this is, I didn't even call it a mission. To me, it was just like, yeah, this is what I'm doing now. So and then there was another moment. So you can imagine me then starting to travel around the world, swimming with dolphins, experiencing different things. I talk a lot about that in the book. And it happens to many people that experience swimming with dolphins. They just want to do it again and experience this again. And then they start discovering similar things that I'm talking about in the book, that I don't want to spend too much time on those right now. But like there's many times for many people there can be telepathy, there can be different levels of this dolphin bliss with different ways of how it happens. So there's all these things that happen in the water where you start perceiving yourself as part of the pod, and you start to get downloads from that. So there's all these different things that start happening as you spend more and more time with dolphins, and there's a commonality in the sharing, in what people share about that, and it's very similar to what I shared in the book as well. And then for me there was another. So the first defining moment was the dreams. The second defining moment was experience the dolphin bliss, and then going everywhere to do that. And then the third defining moment on my path was the strangest. And I know by what you girls share usually on this broadcast, I'm sure your listener will be fine, with me sharing that. But so this third defining moment was me traveling to another place, and this was in Croatia in Europe, to experience dolphin bliss again. I wanted to go and swim with them and experience that again. And it was with a woman, this mysterious woman she is kind of a shamanic woman presence in Croatia on the coast. And what happened was, I thought she would take me out on a boat to be with dolphins. But we just simply hugged in the middle of a kitchen. And as we hugged, she pulled down my back with her fingers. And as she did that, my body started to morph into a dolphin body. It happened with my nose and my mouth and my eyes and so on. And my whole body slowly, body part by body part, morphed into a dolphin. And this was the first, so this was, all of a sudden, my whole world was turned upside down. It was like somebody, well, like dolphins took a mirror and said, well, you're coming to experience dolphin bliss with us, and here it is inside you. And this was such a profound event, and it was so not linear. It was so hard to understand for the mind, that there's for me it's like a spiral of understanding. Like I'm keep on going deeper in what it can mean and what it does mean, and I'm keep on discovering new levels of what it represents and what it stands for. And this is where the title of the book comes from, Inner Dolphin Awakening. This is where most of my work now. So first I was invited to find it in myself, and then through the book, and now through the workshops and everything, I'm invited to go out and invite others to do the same, to look at this connection, to start understanding that it's that it's always here, that in each moment we can tap into this, and we have it right here. And this is my passion now, and this is my excitement, and this is the journey.
Mhm. Well, I can certainly bear testament to that morphing feeling I had prior to meeting you, Jan, and doing that beautiful workshop. I'd had the most amazing shamanic dream after having spent a couple of days with a Native American Indian medicine woman, a very powerful lady, and she was holding like a retreat, and I was really tuning into the energy. And I went home one night and dreamt, and I shapeshifted into my German Shepherd dog, and then became a wolf. And I was running like a wolf for about 3 or 4 seconds before I came back out of it. So that's been my only experience of shapeshifting, and that was in a dream. But when on the workshop with you, and you took us step by step through every aspect of the dolphin, after a very particularly deep meditation with you, I absolutely felt my nose growing, and that sense of I'm looking out through dolphin eyes, and I was wide awake. And that was an extraordinary feeling, and I've not had it since or before. So I can absolutely bear witness to the fact that the dolphin energy is within us. We can tap into it. My question to you, I think, Jan, and I know Laurie, because she's been reading your book, will have other questions too, but I'll get mine in very quickly, if I may, Laurie. Why do the dolphins, why did they make themselves aquatic beings when it seems to me that their main mission on Earth is to help the humans with their ascension process? Why did they remove themselves from the two-legged, the landlocked human? Would it not have been more effective for them to have come on and been two-legged mammals as opposed to the finned ones? And I can't get my head around that, why they separated themselves like that.
So there was an agreement. So let me just come back to first part of having it right here, and you experiencing it right here as being a part of you. So part of this teaching is the understanding that came in as I was writing the book was that this is only possible for us to experiencing ourselves as both human and dolphin is only possible if our soul was part of both human and dolphin. And so the way I explained it in the book was that our soul is not just one thing. We're so attached to I being one, and I am being one. And in the way I explained it in the book was that really your soul is like a flower that has many different petals. And each one of those petals, and the human part is just one of those petals. And they are all together, they form a flower, but there's many petals, and each one of them can be on a separate journey. So some of these petals can come to you and they seem like separate beings, and they seem like your guides, and people are thinking, oh, I'm talking to these wise, guides that are sharing all this information. But the way I describe it is that the I am of you, of your being, is actually in the middle of that flower. And when the I am says I am, it then resonates through each of the petals in that moment. So it's celebrating the uniqueness of each petal, but at the same time, it acknowledges that it's all I am. And so the way I describe it then is that there's a petal of your soul that enters dolphins and whales, and I actually believe it happens collectively, where each dolphin you see can actually embody that petal of your soul as part of the collective dolphin consciousness. But the agreement was that we come in as humans and we have an ability to completely forget who we are. So this is something we wanted to do. There's many books written about that, and it's something that we chose as a soul to come in and forget who we are as souls. And we were very excited about that, but at the same time we knew that at one point we might start remembering, and there might be tools for us to remember in an easier way. So this is where the dolphins come in. I believe their agreement with us was that they're going to come in and not forget. And I believe water is a part of that. I believe it's much harder to forget in the water. Like it's much harder to be disconnected in the water. So everything they embody, the way they look, when we worked with the dolphin points on the body, everything is almost like they're locked into remembering. So it's like they're not even allowed to go out of, they kind of can, you hear of stories of dolphins and whales, being out of alignment. You can hear that. So they still have some ability of that, but it's extremely hard for them to forget the joy, to forget, the curiosity of the soul and the light and everything. And the other reason why they are, in the water, I feel, and why they are the way they are, was for them to not come to us with language. They don't, necessarily want us to go into our minds as we're interacting with them. So they want us to experience the energy more than, hear it. So they, they don't want to talk to us and tell us you're an amazing soul. They want to just for us to experience it. So yeah, that's how I would answer your question. What do you feel about it?
That's beautiful. I love what you said about the water. That totally makes sense. And how, because it's a different form. I mean, it holds water so powerful, and it's a great container. So I love it.
And just think about it, like we go and swim in the ocean, like I know for me personally, but I'm sure it's like 99% humanity. It washes away everything, and
Everything.
it is you start connecting right there and then without even doing anything. You don't need to even meditate in the water. You just take a swim, and you're gonna start connecting. So I think it's all part of the design of dolphins remembering fully the whole time.
And I almost feel like when you're in the ocean, time does not exist, because I can go out there and be like, oh, I'll be back in a half an hour, and it's like I come back to shore and it's been 3 hours later, and I'm like, how did that happen?
Yeah. And it's when you start connecting these dots, and then like babies being born, being in the ocean like water in the womb.
Exactly. Yeah.
So these are all, I believe water, the ocean is one step closer to our natural state. So when we are there, it's automatically we start remembering. And it's so simple. And it connects all the dots. It's very great. Like I love how it all comes together.
And I love how you wrote that in your book too, because the way you put all the synchronicities together, it was like, and it just flowed so great, and the universe just kind of put it all out there for you, all the puzzle pieces you put together. And the way you described it, though, it was like we were there with you along the trip. It was like, I loved it. I couldn't put it down. It was great writer. And I love the way you described the dolphin points. Like when Claire was talking about how she went to your seminar, even reading your book, I felt that going through, I could feel the dolphin nose, and, and then just stepping into the curiosity part of it. And, and it almost brings you back to that child point, like you were saying, that getting to your inner child, and it really pulls that out. And yeah, I loved it. And it reminded me of, I have a daughter, she's 12, but we would always watch the Song of the Sea. Have you seen that with about the Selkie? Yeah. And it kind of, when I was reading it, it kind of brought me back, because I hadn't seen that movie in a while. And I was like, oh yeah, it's kind of like little similarities to waking up and, using, the song that she used. But I mean, definitely that was the seal version, but it's still bringing the ocean onto land and waking us up. So yeah, it was beautiful.
Big part, as was that the old cultures knew most of what I'm talking about. That's that's the crazy part, is that it kind of got lost, or dispersed. But yeah, you can see when you start exploring just that part, the legends and the cultures and what they knew, and what the shamans knew of different tribes, you're like, oh my God, this is, it's not even new.
Right.
I'm not teaching much new stuff. It's very interesting. But, at the same time, when it comes down to, and I believe this is the mission of the book, is coming down to the consciousness of being able to walk down the street and tapping into your multidimensional parts at will and with total ease. This, I believe, that's the intention of this work, is to start opening us up where we're not so rigid in defining ourselves and the I, when we say, oh, I, when we are defining it, it's so attached to the human, and it's so attached to one person, one body, and we're so rarely allowing ourselves to drop that and to have the fluidity of what I actually is. So yeah, so I believe it comes to that practical everyday life, fluidity within, allowing ourselves to bring more of different aspects of us in. And this is one way to do it. It's just opening the door, and I know there's many other ways, and that we're all part of the same wave of teaching that. It's great. I to me, the most amazing thing, and that I'm the most grateful for it, is the fact that there's readiness in the collective energy of the planet for all this. Because even when I started sharing my stories back in 2012, when I shared the morphing story, there was almost like everybody froze in the room. And now there's much more openness in the energy, and even in people's minds. It's shifted in short 6-7 years so much that I can share the craziest stories, and I don't even need to stop to tell people that they're going to be really crazy.
Right.
Yeah, so it's this, to me, is the biggest gift, the fact that humanity is actually ready, and I'm just so grateful that I can be a part of it.
I love it. That's so cool.
Just put glasses on so we can just see how much more time we've got left, which is great. We've got another 9 minutes, so we can keep talking with Jan. Jan, you said about the joy and it just being off the scale, my words, but it is off the scale. I had the privilege of swimming with a captive dolphin, which I believe was intended at that time, but only to show me that actually it's not about captivity, it's about being in their own natural habitat. And as humans, we have to get our head around this, that we don't have to bring everything into captivity, that we can work with and support and help them in their own habitat, in their own domains. But just even with that wild, captive dolphin, who was just absolutely amazing, enormous, powerful, just heart-tremblingly there in the water with me, and I can still feel the joy. And I have never felt anything on that scale that wasn't supernatural, that came anywhere close to that joy. And a very dear friend and colleague says that the ascension process is actually the byproduct of joy, not the other way around. So we live in joy. We radiate, we transmit, we vibrate at the frequency of joy, and as a result of that, we are able to launch into the ascension journey. And that dolphin experience opened me up for the first time ever in my life to real joy, beyond human joy, and it just extraordinary. As I've had some supernatural, highly spiritual feelings and experiences since then, but on Earth, in a human form, that absolutely nothing comes close. So it is the gift that they bring is astonishing. It is beyond worldly.
Yes, they say that that joy really is your natural state of your soul.
Aw.
Why can't we
So-
live in that all the
I
time?
know. That's, I
Why
want
do
to be
we-
there all the time.
Why do we do it to ourselves? Why would we rob ourselves of living in that perpetual state of bliss? God, we're weird, aren't we, as humans? We are so weird. Yeah. Our natural state. I mean, that's mind-boggling, Jan, isn't it? That is mind-boggling.
And it makes perfect sense. So they said, yeah, it's the natural state of the soul, and that they said that the amount of your multidimensional opening and exploration and remembrance is directly correlated to the amount of joy you can feel. So they said, if you, like you said, if you want to work on yourself, work on your joy. This really is their message.
Mhm.
And yeah, so it's amazing how this it's kind of like when people speak about Dolphin, and when you have somebody, like, I like to bring in, how would you call it, I like to bring in seriousness about it, like the Dolphins even joked about it and said I should subtitle the book Taking Joy Seriously.
Yeah.
Just to bring across the message, because people don't get, like, what I want to bring across is the importance
Mhm.
of joy, and that's what they're stressing out, is the importance of joy. It's not that you it's funny to bring seriousness and joy together, but it's the importance that they really want to point out and say nothing will really happen from now on, and God knows if it ever has, you know around your spiritual work, if it doesn't include joy as well. So they really want to, make us understand that whatever you're trying to do, in whatever way you're trying to meditate and deal with your stuff, and even, there's so many people out there connecting with the star people and so on, and trying to get further along on this path. They're saying, it's not about doing something, it's really coming back to this joy. And it's, the best part is that it is the joy of your soul, so which means it is a part of you already. So we need to just figure out how to take away, the parts, the belief systems that are in between us and those parts of us. So, because that's it all, we're just so tightly defining ourselves into the human body, into the human form, believing that this is all there is, and that we're somehow trying to open out to teachers and beings and so on, but we need to kind of redefine that and realize that it is a part of us. And once that definition is there in place, then it allows for those walls to start, first loosen up a little bit, and then at one point they're just gonna, fall down. It's there's not gonna be a need for us to be so fully human, anymore. And that's when we're gonna start to remember even more and more. But yeah, the importance of joy is really the key to this work.
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? Because we're a lot of the sort of spiritual teachings and the self-development coaching is all about, saying what you want, setting goals, repeating the mantras. I'm going to be wealthy. I'm going to be wealthy. But what the missing bit is the feeling that you will get when you are in that loving relationship, when you are, living a life of authenticity and congruence. We forget the feeling because we're so locked into our heads, into the mental realm. And sometimes it's not really about the words, as the Dolphins have said to you. It's not about the language. It's not about communicating with words, because we'll overthink it. It's about feeling it. So if I want to say, this time next year, I'm bringing in great prosperity and abundance. Well, that's nice. Well done. Say the words. But how does that make me feel? And why don't I live the feeling as opposed to living the words? And that's quite difficult for me, because I'm a very much in my head person. And I have to keep reminding myself to ask myself, not what I think I should do, what do I feel I should do? in every given moment and really develop that feeling muscle, because I forget to feel the joy. I absolutely forget to feel the joy. It's mad, isn't it? It's nuts. Why would I do that? So I've got to relearn to feel the joy.
The being human thing.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's extraordinary. And that's what they give us. So Jan, in the last minute and a bit, have any new stuff that's come up since you and I last met in the summer? What plans have you got for this year? You've got some
we're coming back to Europe. We're having events. We're going to Slovenia to a global Stargate gathering. We're just having a book stand there, and then we're traveling to Budapest. So we have events for Hungarians, and then to Czech Republic. So we have events there, and then we're flying to Azores, or it's a part of Portugal, but they're islands in the middle of Atlantic. We have a few things there, and it's really very exciting. So I'll be presenting to a crowd of probably around 100 people first for 45 minutes, and then we're actually doing like first a three-day retreat for 33 people, and that's together with Lee Carroll from Channeling Cryon. If you've read the book, I've talked a lot about what Cryon shared over the years, and because I believe it really brings together great pieces of the puzzle. So this is gonna be like a retreat with the workshop. So it's gonna be a full day workshop plus dolphin swims. And that's a 3-day one. And then, Teresa, my Portuguese organizer, even thinks there's going to be even more people after that. So we're going to do another 5-day retreat for 10 people. And that's without Lee Carroll and Cryon. But